So you got 32 packet coming around. What do I always say when I pass out a brand new packet? Don't lose it. It's very good. I think I have one extra. That's a good job of not losing the last packet. We're going to start by talking about pi. Oh, yeah. So I know you guys have heard of pi before. We had Pi Day, but we didn't really talk a ton about pi that day. Who can tell me something about pi? Something you know about pi? It never ends. Very good. What else do we know? What? Not. Oh. It has to do with a circle. Very good. What else? Yeah. Yeah, it starts with 3.14. I like those. Anything else? So, Miss King, just ash. 3, 3, 3, 4. Yep. All right, so I'm going to show you kind of how pi was discovered. So all I need you to do is get a calculator in your hands for a second. I have this cool little tool here where I can make this circle bigger or smaller, and it's recalculating something. So let me tell you what it's calculating. It's calculating the diameter. This 10.3, that blue line is the diameter. This 3308 is called the circumference. I know we've heard the word circumference, but just a reminder, it's the outside. It's the crust of the pizza, the outside. Kind of like perimeter, but we use the fancy term circumference. So as I make this bigger or smaller, it's recalculating those distances for me. Here's what I would like you to type in your calculator, please. Type the circumference, 40.3. Divided by that diameter, 12.83. We're not writing anything in our notes. We're just sort of looking at some numbers. Circumference, 40.3, divided by 12.83. Okay, keep that number in your calculator. Let me make this smaller. Please type in the circumference, 17.19, divided by 5.47. Do you get a number that's pretty close to the last number? It's probably off a little because these are rounded to 2 decimal places. Let's do one more. Let me make it bigger this time. Okay, 46.65 divided by the diameter, 14.85. What number are we getting almost each time? Pi, right? Again, it's off a little because of the rounding, but essentially this is how pi was discovered. Back in the day when they had to like hand carve things, they noticed some relationships between how large a circle was, whatever they were making, maybe like a wheel out of stone or something, and the diameter of it. The more they did it with more circular figures, the more they realized, oh, the circumference divided by the diameter gives me the same number every time. So that's sort of how it came about. If you would on your notes, please go ahead and write this down. Circumference, which is the first number we typed, divided by diameter. Every time we did circumference divided by diameter, we got pi. So that is what pi is. All of the answers you guys gave me were correct. This is just the mathematical way to calculate that number. Let's write it in words. What is pi? Pi is the ratio, which means division, the ratio of circumference over diameter. Let's see. So in the future, if I ask you or somebody asks you, I doubt somebody else will unless it's like a standardized test, what is pi? Your answers are good, but this is the definition. Pi is found, just like you did on your calculator 3 times, by taking the circumference divided by the diameter. All right. How can you use that formula to write a formula for circumference? So please write the formula again. And instead of pi by itself, if I wanted the circumference by itself, I would have to get rid of this divide by d by multiplying by d. Circumference equals pi times diameter. Put that formula, actually maybe not in a box. If you did, that's fine. I was going to add one more thing to it. I wanted to draw a picture of a diameter real quick. Let's say I have this diameter. Do we all agree that one diameter is the same as 2 radii? Right? So sometimes this formula is written differently. Some choose not to write diameter. They choose to write diameter as 2r. So their formula looks like this. Circumference equals 2 pi r. Please write that one also. It's a very common other way to see the formula. Why do they put it in that order? I don't know. It's just the common order, so we continue to do it that way. Now, if you haven't yet, I would put a box around those. You don't need to know both of them. They are the same. It's just whether you prefer to write diameter or 2 radii. You guys remember on this last quiz how at the top there was a spot for your formulas? In the quiz before there was a spot for formulas, guess what? This next quiz, quiz 32, those are going to be at the top. We have to know those. Today there are 3 formulas. There's 2 of them. Okay, your other formula is going to be the area formula. So those formulas are for finding circumference. We need to know what circumference is. If you don't think you'll remember, write down circumference. Hey, it starts with a C. It's like the crust of the pizza, the outside. Circumference, crust. Since we have these in a box, let's also make a box for how to find area of a circle. Of course, we know what area means. Area is if I want to paint this or cover it with cheese, the amount of cheese I need to cover the whole thing. Area. Does anybody know this one? I know you've heard of it before. Area of a circle. It has pi in it somewhere. Yeah.
Pi r squared.
You got it. Pi r squared. And you heard me say, no, pi r round. Pi r squared. I don't just want the crust, I want the whole area. Pi r squared. Be careful because these formulas look similar. They both have an r. They both have a pi. One of them is times 2, and one of them is r squared. It's a little bit different. So if r is 8, this is going to be 16. If r is 8, 8 squared is 64. Comes out to be a little bit different. I'm going to show you where this area formula came from. And if it doesn't quite make sense, that's okay. But I'm going to show you for 2 minutes anyway. So set your pencil down, please. Here is how the area formula came about. I think it's kind of cool. Maybe you'll follow what I'm saying. This is the area of a circle. Another thing I could do is I could take each of these slices of pizza and I could rearrange them like this to make a parallelogram. We've already studied parallelograms. The formula is base times height. So if my pizza was arranged this way, it would be much easier to find the area. It's usually not, so we have to use pi r squared. But if it's arranged this way, parallelogram base times height. Let's look at each of those variables. The base. Look at where this came from. Do you guys see how this is like this right there? Right? And this one is here. What is another way to describe what I just did here? Isn't that half of the circumference? So I'm going to, you don't need to write this. I'm going to, instead of writing base, which is this, I'm going to write half circumference. And my height, where is that in my picture of my circle? That is kind of like this, which you would call radius. Now, we just learned circumference is 2 pi r. A half times 2 is 1. Look what I have left. Pi r times r squared. That's where the formula came from. You will not be asked to do that on a quiz. I just kind of wanted to show you where it came from and sort of how it relates to, if you would rearrange it as a parallelogram, you get the same thing. Okay, what I need you to know so far today is what is circumference, the outside, the crust, how to find it, one of two ways, and area. Everything else we're going to do today are questions where it says find the circumference or find the area, find the radius, etc. Let's get started with number 1. Find the circumference. Please write down what formula you think would be helpful here. There's 2 circumference formulas. I would pick the one that has an R in it. Two pi r. I copy the 2, I copy the pi, and instead of r, I fill in what they said r is. When you're typing this, your calculator has a pi button. Please use that. I will help you find it if you can't. Try to find it. 2 times pi times the r value, 5.7. This color. Yeah.
I can't find it.
That calculator. We should see the symbol somewhere. Right there. So see how it's gold? You might have to hit like whatever you normally have to hit to get that one. Nope, hit that first probably. Keep trying. I'll come back. Yours is right there in blue, so you hit the blue key first. Same for you. Yours is right here in blue, with the blue key, and then that one. Anyone else? Did you get it to work?
It says error.
Okay, I'll come back. What do you normally do to get that button? There. You tried that out. So shift, which is gold, and then gold on there. Yep. Try it again. Oh, you don't have to hold it down, just hit it. So, there you go. 2, 5, and times 5.7. Anybody else? Okay, we should be rounding to hundreds finally. I see earbuds, take them out. Number 2, it says find circumference. Write a formula that you think would be helpful. Yes. Oh, you have, okay. You already have the answer. Which formula did you use?
C equals square, or C equals 5 times B.
Yeah, you can use this previous formula. I have to think a little harder, but we already have a formula with the diameter in it. So I might as well pick the formula that has the diameter. Lydia, what did you get?
67.86.
And our label is feet. So if this was, that would be a very large pizza. So maybe it's a pool. You would have just found how many feet it is if you were to swim along the very edge all the way around. Circumference. Just feet, not feet squared. That would be area. Number 3, notice it says find the radius. You've been told the circumference. You still need to start with a formula. Circumference equals 2 pi r. Since I know the circumference, I put the 94 on that side. Think of basic algebra. If I want to know the radius and it's being multiplied by 2 pi, wouldn't I just divide by 2 pi? Yes. Here's what you cannot type in your calculator. 94 divided by 2 pi. Why not? I just told you to divide by 2 pi. Why is that wrong? Yeah. This is telling your calculator to divide by 2. And if you want to divide by 2 and pi, which we do, we want to divide by 2 and pi, you have to tell your calculator, divide by 2 and pi both. You have to put it in parentheses. I need help with the calculator. Okay, there's one more at the bottom. Find the exact area of the circle. I'm going to come back to this word exact in just a second. Let's pretend it just says find the area of the circle. Write your formula for area. Pi r squared. Slight problem, not a big deal. Catherine, did you notice they didn't give you the radius this time? So that whole line is not a radius. Any idea how I could find the radius? Nora, any idea? Yeah, they gave you this whole thing. If I just want the radius, I just take half of that. Half of that would be 9.1. Okay. In your calculator, pi, parentheses, 9.1 squared. This is exactly what my calculator says. Does that mean it stops at this number? No, we know pi goes on forever. Calculator can't go on forever. So what we've been taught to do is rounded to decimal places. So we say 260.16. Is this answer exact? No, the answer actually goes on forever and ever, and I decided to cut it down, and now it is no longer exact. So if your problem says exact, I would circle it, draw attention to that word. It's very important. That answer is not good. That answer has been rounded and is no longer exactly the same value. Let's erase it. Here is how you get the exact value without rounding. Think about what caused us to round. Wasn't it this pi that goes on forever? Right? And anytime I type pi, suddenly my answer goes on forever. So here's what you do. Instead of typing pi, you just write pi. Do that. Instead of typing pi in your calculator and getting a number that goes on forever, just recopy the symbol pi. You'll type in your calculator anything else but the pi. So just type in your calculator 9.1 squared. Is this exact? Yeah, some people might look at it and think you rounded because it says 0.81, but that's exactly 9.1 squared. That's it. If it says exact, don't type pi, just rewrite it. This is area, so whatever the units are, feet, inches, it'll be squared. Okay, turn the page. Might have to do a little bit of flipping, or maybe we should just write our formulas at the top. Let's do that. At the top of the back side, let's write our circumference formula and our area formula. Let me read question 5. Find the exact radius of a circle with circumference of 74. So exact radius of a circle with circumference of 74. Of the 3 formulas I have to pick from, I would want to pick the one that says circumference and has an R in it. Go ahead, tells you circumference, fill in that number. We want the radius, that's the only variable here. Pi is a number, not a variable. We have to divide by 2 pi. Remember, the problem says exact. Do not type pi. Pi will go on forever. You won't be able to cut it off exactly. So I'm going to type everything except for the pi. I'm just going to recopy the pi. Notice your pi is in the denominator. So I need to recopy it right where it's at. I'm going to type in everything but pi. So 74 divided by 2 is 37. Every problem starts with the formula. They don't have to be memorized today. They have to be memorized by your quiz. Once you have your formula, you will fill in any numbers that you know. We'll do algebra. When you're done, you type it in. If it says exact, then you don't type pi, you just recopy it. How are we feeling so far with this new content? Show me with your hand. Some not too good. Some okay. All right, we're getting there. It's fine. It's just day one. Let's try number 6. And the exact diameter of a circle with circumference 58. I'm definitely going to use this formula because it has circumference and diameter. I'm filling in, since they told me circumference, I fill that in. If I want the diameter, and it's being multiplied by pi, I divide by pi. Does this problem say exact? Yes, it does. So I am actually not going to type pi. I'm just going to rewrite it. And I'm going to type everything else. Well, there isn't really anything else to type in. There's just a 58. So unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, that's it. I can't really do anything else. That's the diameter, 58 over pi. One more like this. Find the exact circumference of a circle with a radius of 31.9 meters. Try it on your own. Same steps. Pick your formula. Plug in any numbers you know. I know radius. It says exact, so I just write pi, and I type in 2 times 31.9. Okay, number 8. Notice it doesn't say the word exact. So we're going to get a decimal. We're going to type pi, and we're going to cut it off at 2 decimal places. Number 8. The area of a circle is 236 square inches. Find the radius. There is only one good formula. See if you can find which formula would be best here. Kevin, which formula? Yeah, of course, the area formula. And then the area of the circle is 236. Okay, let's think about algebra. We need to find this r. We have to get rid of the pi. It's being multiplied. We have to get rid of the 2. It's being squared. It does matter which we get rid of first. We want to get rid of the multiplying first. So since it's being multiplied, divide both sides by pi. Type it in, get a decimal. Caitlin, do you know why I went to 4 decimal places? Cam, do you know why I went to 4 decimal places? I know Connor knows. It's the Connor rule. Because it's not the final answer. So we're not going to cut it off too early. We're going to go to 4 decimal places until we get to our final answer. Then we'll cut it off at 2. Now all we have to do is get r by itself. Kenny, do you remember how we get rid of squared? You will remember once you hear it. Lydia, do you remember? There you go. Square root. My final answer gets rounded to 2 decimal places, 8.67 inches. Last question. The area of a circle is 857 square centimeters. Find the diameter. You might think there's really not a good formula. There is no formula with area and diameter. No formula has area and diameter. Anyone have a suggestion then? Yeah, if I use this formula, I'll still be able to find the radius. Let's say it's 7. Could I then find the diameter? Yeah, double it. So you can still use this formula, even though it doesn't have a D in it. Let's go ahead and start. Go ahead, get as far as you can. Divide by pi first. We square root. Once you get the radius, just multiply it by 2. Final answer, 33.03 centimeters. When we're labeling things, the radius would be centimeter, diameter, centimeter, circumference, centimeters. It's the area, the only one that's centimeters squared.